Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 479. I'm wearing a hood. It's not Hoodie Friday. Giving myself a pass. Today's Hoodie Wednesday because it is 16 degrees below zero and it's cold as hell outside. So, hoodie day. And of course, it's only like a brief one day, super extreme cold day. Like tomorrow, it's going to warm up and I don't know, it might be zero tomorrow. But today's garbage and recycling day. And it's like, oh my God, it's going to be 16 below zero. I'm not even going to go to get my mail at the end of the driveway today. I'm staying inside all day. Ah, crap. Garbage and the recycling out to the curb. So, good morning. A little late because I was up late doing eBay stuff. So I slept in a little bit and then I was typing up the description for this because I have a lot of thoughts and opinions and I wanted to make a cool thumbnail, cool for me at least. So that's why I'm a little late this morning, probably going to go long. Jenny, what's up? Good morning to you. Ortiz moved like hotcakes. I did not have much success with Ortiz sales. I thought it would blow up. I did sell a Bonds card. I think I did sell one Ortiz card, but I have several in my eBay store. They have been. I've actually been moving David Ortiz cards pretty regularly over the last couple months, and usually when I find them when I'm pulling cards to list on eBay, I've been pulling the Ortiz in anticipation his Hall of Fame election. Andrew, I'll circle back to your question and maybe remind me because I've got a lot of stuff that I'm going to talk about. I might forget. So actually, I'll answer it right now. There is no claim for bubble mailers. You're kind of SOL on bubble. That's the weird thing about standard envelope versus bubble mailers. Standard envelope, you're covered with the insurance claim, but you're not with bubble mailer unless you send it priority and have $50 insurance. The best thing you can do for a lost bubble mailer is go to the USPS website and open a missing mail claim. That's all you can do, and you might have to refund and you're out that money. That's what sucks about bubble mailers that get lost. There is no insurance unless you buy it from the post office. David, good morning to you. Had a V8 Energy and large cup of black tea. Still want to go back to bed. Amen to that. I'm back to my peanut butter crunch coffee from Door County. Amazing. I've been drinking. I think it's called Death's Door, and it's the whole bean. And I don't like it. My wife bought a big bag. Don't tell her that I don't like it. So we were at the grocery store yesterday, and I'm like, I'm gonna get some coffee. So at least I have good coffee, and it's super cold, but the sunrise, amazing this morning. I took a photo after I sent the link out to the video. I went upstairs to get my coffee, and all of a sudden I was just blown away by the sunrise. So I have my backyard, and then there's a tree line at the edge of the yard, and then it's kind of ramps up, and then it goes down into it's actually a cornfield. So it's kind of a hill. So the sun kind of like rises up over that like incline hill and at the end of my backyard. So the sunrises, I get some pretty cool sunrises. So I was blown away by this morning sunrise, blown away so much that I turned off the alarm, opened the door to take a photo. I tried to take a photo through the glass door, but you get the circles and stuff. So I took a photo. I can confirm it is freaking cold, and made for a cool photo. I posted it on Instagram. Haven't tweeted it yet, but I will tweet the photo. Zach, good morning to you. Ed, good morning to you. OG, good morning to you. Herman's with us. Good morning. It's negative 42 wind chill in Minnesota. I don't even want to look what the wind chill is. I'll find out when I take the bins down to the curb. I think like in the 30 below, I think is what they were predicting. No rain till Sunday. I'd kill for some rain right now. Means it would be at least 32 degrees above zero. A balmy 27 in Rhode Island. Jenny sold over 50 Ortiz. Holy crap! I think I sold one. And I have a bunch in my, let's see. I think I have a bunch in my eBay store. Because that what a day that I posted on get some trickling sales, and I think I sold one, maybe two. So one, two, three. Uh-oh. I hope everything's I have a ton. I have a ton of Ortiz still in my store. Over a dozen, and they're all $1.50 free shipping. A couple of them are a little more. I've got a ton. I've got a ton of Ortiz, probably 20. And I think I only sold one overnight. Maybe today. I don't know. I would have figured, like you last night while I slept, I would have had a bunch of sales, but I didn't. Uh, let's see. We were at the grocery store yesterday. So your bride is doing really good. Yeah. So she just had she had a follow-up appointment Monday. She had another appointment yesterday. So she's recovering well. Still has a big wound from the surgery. But she's able to walk upstairs, and it's like after she had the surgery, it's like she's always wanted since we built this house, it's 2-story, she wanted a ranch. And I always wanted a ranch. And it's like, okay, I'll go along with the 2-story. And now I kind of like the 2-story. But she's like dead on set. Our next house is going to be a ranch. But she's dangling the carrot to get me on the ranch side, because with a ranch comes a larger basement. So I'm team ranch now. But so after the surgery, it's like, oh crap, how is she going to get up the stairs? It was slow going, but she's actually moving around really well. So yep, went grocery shopping yesterday. Justin, what's up? Good morning. So there was so much that came out yesterday that I wanted to talk about. I'm just gonna contain it to just the two topics at hand: Hall of Fame voting and the eBay authentic guarantee. There were some other things that just kind of came up throughout the day that I'm like, oh, I want to talk about that, but I'll save those for another day, because there's a lot of days where I'm struggling like yesterday, where I'm struggling to find topics to discuss on my board and circle back. So let's talk Hall of Fame. So we've talked about David Ortiz. David Ortiz elected to the Hall of Fame with a surprising, I think 78.7%, I think 79% of the vote. I thought he would just get in. My prediction was Ortiz would be the only one elected, and he was, but with only 75 to 76% of the vote, because I thought a lot of the private ballots that we hadn't, known about, I thought they would be, on the PED front. So they're, not going to vote for him, especially on the first ballot, which was apparently not the case. He didn't lose much ground. I think he was around 80%, 81% on the public votes. And, he only dipped to 79%. So it was pretty steady even through the private ballots. Bonds and Clemens were 2 and 3. Bonds gets a few more votes than Clemens, a couple more votes. I thought they would gain a little ground on the private ballots, and here's why. So there's a few different trackers, and they use these statistical formulas and all this math that I don't understand to track it. And my thought process is, yes, those are great. I wish I was better at math, because that's where the money. If you know math, you can make a lot of money. So my thought process was going into something that the statistics and the math can't solve, and that's the personal, the emotional attachment, the emotions behind the votes. And so my thought process was Bonds and Clemens would rise from their low mid 60% up to 70%. I thought they would gain a lot of ground among the private ballot voters, because it was a punishment for Bonds and Clemens to sit through for 10 years to wait for that call. And then finally on the 10th ballot, kind of like what we saw recently, Larry Walker, a lot different for Larry Walker, different reasons, but we see those guys just make that move. Scott Rowland is one. He's probably going to get in next year, or if not next year, in 2 years. Todd Helton, probably a down the road. They both have, a few more ballots left, several ballots left. I think Roland's only on his fourth or fifth. Same with Helton. Anyway, so I thought some of those private ballot voters would put them on where they haven't in the past, and they needed a lot of ground to gain to get to that 75% threshold. And I was shocked they really didn't make Bonds and Clemens really didn't make much ground in the private ballots. And along with that, so you go with the private ballots, and kind of tracking this, you go with what we know. And so what we knew going into the voting yesterday, we had about 50% of the votes. We knew how many of the public voters that we knew their votes last year. We knew how added Bonds or Clemens to their vote that they didn't vote for last year. And we also know of the public ballots who are first-time voters. So, and at one point it was like 85% of first-time voters voted for Bonds and Clemens. So you add those, and then the unknown is the private ballots. And so I thought, and I'm still surprised, 12 hours later, that they didn't gain any more ground than what they did last year. They fell at around, I think, was it 63%? I think 63 and 62%. Bonds has about 1% edge on Clemens, because I know Clemens has some other like off the field stuff that people don't like. And then Scott Rowland was, I think it's 60%. So he dropped on the private ballots more than I thought. I thought he would gain some ground on the private ballots, but I still think Scott Rowland's going to get in next year or the year after. I think Todd Helton's a few years away, but I think Todd Helton eventually gets in. Next year's first ballot class is really weak. Carlos Beltran, which I know a lot of people say he's a surefire Hall of Famer, but he's got that cloud of the sign stealing when he was in Houston behind him. So is he going to be punished for that? Who knows? Probably look at Ortiz. I mean, I'm going to go into that in a moment. So next year's class, it's like Carlos Beltran. And if you just look at just WAR, and that's kind of my first barometer when I look at players, like what's their WAR? And I know some people hate WAR and all these new advanced statistics and analytics, but it is what it is. I look at WAR first. He's clear heads and shoulders above the rest of the field. I think John Lackey is like number 2. And I tweeted out like 4 or 5 names. So it's a really weak class. Beltran signed borrowed. So going back to the whole, what in the hell's going on with this voting process? And initially, and I knew, like, it's no surprise. I think we all knew Ortiz was going to get in. Bonds and Clemens were going to get shut out. This was my prediction. Bonds is in, or Ortiz is in. Bonds and Clemens are out. But then when it's over, the dust has settled, and it's like, why? And it really, and at first I thought this sucks for David Ortiz, because now he's going to be shrouded in this Bonds Clemens debate, and people aren't really appreciating his talent on the baseball field, on the diamond. When it comes to the Hall of Fame, they're pointing out that, well, he's got this cloud of, as do Bonds and Clemens, but they don't make it through 10 ballots, and Ortiz is a first ballot. What the hell's going on? So we're not really celebrating David Ortiz's induction into the Hall of Fame. It's a whataboutism. It's a, well, what about Bonds and Clemens? And I hate whataboutism, but in this particular instance, it is like, why Ortiz? I'll have to go and dig for some articles, because I know there's probably some voters who have their explainers on why they voted how they did. And I'd like to, so Rosado, I'm kind of seeing some of the comments. Did Ortiz use PED? I believe, I'm going to Google this real quick, but I don't want to say anything out loud. But he was on the Mitchell report, as were, and that's the same thing. It's all, so David Ortiz was in the Mitchell report, and that's kind of we don't know we don't know if, and that's the thing. Like, some of these guys were in the Mitchell report, and that's why they were in for writers not to vote for certain players into the Hall of Fame, because they were named in the Mitchell report. David Ortiz is in that stupid Mitchell report, and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me. Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire resurrected baseball from the ashes of the 1994 strike. And they were loved, and you knew damn well Bud Selig, Hall of Famer, Bud Selig, Hall of Famer, turned a blind eye. Tony La Russa, Hall of frickin' Famer, Tony La Russa, Hall of Famer, turned a blind eye in St. Louis. You have to believe these guys in those positions knew that this stuff was going on, and it was leading baseball's renaissance in 1998 and on. And here we have these double standards. Why is Barry Bonds, why is Mark McGwire, Roger Clemens, Sammy Sosa, Gary Sheffield, why are these guys the poster boys? When they made baseball, they made Bud Selig, they made Bud in Major League Baseball and turned it around from death. But they're the scapegoats. Makes no sense to me. And now we have David Ortiz on that same stupid report. David Ortiz on that same stupid report that writers are using as their explanation on why I'm not voting for player A, player B. And David Ortiz is right there. And maybe it's not. Maybe the writers are no longer voting or whatever, but it makes no sense. Makes no sense. Makes no sense whatsoever. There was one thought process. One of my defenses of the PED guys, the guys that, we don't know if they used PEDs. I mean, we know the Rodriguez, but the other guys, it's just kind of shrouded in mystery. Shrouded is my new word of the day, I guess. So it's like, we have like this double standard going on, and it sucks. It sucks. So I'm going to go to the chat because I missed a whole bunch. Okay, George Korea, he's on vacation. The voters are PED users already in. Some of the legends of the legends, they basically don't know history, which is what they are supposed to be good at. Exactly. And so here's the thought that left to my mind. So I've always been among the believers that the stereo era, where Bud Selig and Tony La Russa and everybody else was turning a blind eye, they knew damn well it was going on. They played dumb, and my defense of it was everybody was using Roger Clemens. He's a pitcher throwing to Barry Bonds, who's a hitter. Guess what? They're both using. But Harold Reynolds made, and I've heard this argument before, but I think just actually listening and watching it during the announcement on MLB Network last night, Harold Reynolds made a good point, and I think I give it more credence coming from Harold Reynolds, who was a longtime Major League Baseball player, as opposed to Joe Schmo on Twitter that played high school ball. I give it more credence to Harold Reynolds, who played the game. He was, teammates with some of these guys. And he said, it's Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens were Hall of Fame talents. And I'm paraphrasing, and I don't want to misspeak, but essentially, these guys had these talents. But what separates performance enhancing drugs from non-PED users is the dog days of summer. Baseball's a long season, 162 game season. When you get into those June, July, August days, I mean, really with anything that's, a marathon like that, your body wears down and gets tired. But with PEDs, you keep going, And that's what, you don't. And when you get tired, you make poor decisions. You get tired, your brain works differently. So that's the difference. So it really kind of, okay, I get it. I get that argument. And especially, I take it much more seriously than some random guy on Twitter when Harold Reynolds says it, because he's been through, several big league seasons, played with these guys, and as a non-PED user knows how you feel, in the dog days of summer. Now, I don't know if he knows how it feels to be a PED user, but I get that, and I know there's science behind that. So, Fall Creek Collectibles, good morning to you. Makes a guy wonder if Ortiz constant exposure on TV helped him in his first ballot. I think it absolutely does. Ortiz is lovable, affable. David Ortiz. He says the F-bomb on TV after the Boston Marathon shooting, and oh yes, go David Ortiz. We love him, and I think that's why Barry Bonds is the anti-David Ortiz. Roger Clemens, anti. These guys are, not lovable or media favorites, which is the important thing, because, hey, if you scorn a nerdy baseball writer, and I can say that because I was in the media, I've been a journalist, I'm nerdy, so I feel comfortable in calling the journalist nerdy. So you piss off, I'm not going to vote for you. That's kind of how it goes. We are seeing a trend of the old guard, the crusty old curmudgeons are getting out, losing their vote or just retiring or whatever, not voting. And we're seeing the younger generation who's, they see the world differently. They're not old curmudgeons. And I think that's good for the Hall of Fame voting process. Pete Rose needs to be put in the Hall of Fame. On this one, I'm torn on the reason I'm torn, yes, for his base be a Hall of Famer, but the reason that I pause is because he agreed to have nothing to do with baseball. That was his it was his word, and I think that's what kills him every time he meets a new commissioner to get into the Hall of Fame. I think that's what hurts his case, was because he, agreed, no Hall of Fame, no baseball. Yes, I'm going to step away, and that was his decision. Yes, I know it was 35 years ago, 30 years ago, but that was his decision. Kind of like Curt Schilling, take me off the ballot. No, you're going to be on the ballot for your 10th time, but voters are going to say, well, you don't want to be voted for, you don't get my vote. So I see it in a similar light. I don't see it as agreed that Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame as I see Bonds and Clemens not in the Hall of Fame. Fall Creek says at this point, all the PED guys in Rose will go in after they're dead. I don't think so. I think Rose maybe. Rose may eventually get in after he's dead, but I think the PED guys will get in soon. And so here's what I think. And this was a great point brought up on MLB Network last night. The what's it called? The today's age, or I don't know if it's the modern age or today's age. The current committee is coming up this December. And that will have modern players. I think Will Clark will be on this committee ballot. The potential of Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. These guys are off the ballot. So they are eligible. Bonds, Clemens, and Schilling, they're eligible to be on the next committee ballot this December. However, there's before it gets to the committee that votes, there's a committee that makes the ballot. That committee may not put Bonds, Clemens, Schilling on the ballot because they were just on a ballot. So that very well could happen. Bonds, Clemens, Schilling, despite them being eligible for this committee ballot, may not be on the ballot at all, because the committee that puts the ballot together may say, well, they were previous voting. We're going to wait another 2 years, or I don't know how many, is it every other year for this committee or every 5 years, whatever it may be, they'll go on the next round. So in December of 2024, if it's every 2 years. So that'll be interesting. So there's a lot of drama with this past Hall of Fame ballot with the writers and this upcoming committee ballot, which We'll find out later this year. Rosado says, Fall Creek, let's make our own Hall of Fame. The people, Beltran signed, borrowed, LOL. I was watching a stream with Ken Rosenthal and Jay Jaffe last night. They said 66% of voters, that's the PED guys, because of PEDs, voted for Ortiz. There you go. Makes sense. Hall of Fame voting makes no sense. Zach says, all I care about right now is Devin Hester getting in. Yeah, so the next Hall of Fame is the Football Hall of Fame, which I believe is in 2 weeks. We'll find out the Hall of Famers. Will Devin Hester get in? Unfortunately, it will be harder for my PC, but all my rookies will increase in value. There you go. By the way, Zach, I found like 2 boxes of Bears cards that I had a blast going through because I always like, oh, I want to collect these. So I'm going to throw away so I don't collect them. Some like action packs, 89 Pro set, a bunch of action packed, like 89, 90, 91. He did test positive for banned substances, but it was thrown out for some reason. Ortiz. Sosa was a nice guy to the fans back when I worked security in Yankee Stadium. Yeah, that's from what I've heard. Sammy was pretty good with fans and the media, and it's just like the OGs of the PED controversy have like fallen off the face of the earth. Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, Rafael Palmeiro, like some of those guys. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot. When did Mark McGwire fall off the ballot? I mean, a long time ago. Sosa's, and somehow Sosa has, and I think the reason, Rosado makes a good point. I think that's the reason Sosa is still on the ballot, because he was a nice guy. Where Mark McGwire, and I think Mark McGwire was known as a nice guy, but I think Mark McGwire's public statements is kind of what sullied his image. And why he went off the ballot so quickly. PEDs where Sosa kind of kept his mouth shut, or didn't speak English or whatever that was during the Senate hearings. PEDs were an era in baseball. You got the dead ball era, so you need the PED era. Oh, absolutely, for sure. It's going to go down. David says, saw some say that if Bonds' home runs all had been outs, he still has a higher career OPS than Ortiz. That's amazing. Willie Nelson used PEDs and made the Hall of Fame. I rest my case. There you go. There you go. Isn't Sammy now Sammy? Next topic, eBay, and they have unveiled an authenticity program. Where is my notes on this? So basically, any card sold for more than $750 will go to a third party to be authenticated. And so this is, and this is for raw and graded cards. So say there's a card for $800. It's a David Ortiz rookie card. Whether it's PSA 10 or it's a raw card, if it sells for $800, $750 or more, it goes to a third party. So the seller sends it to a third party. And I think George on Twitter mentioned it's similar to, was it Star Stock you mentioned? Where you send, like, if I have my boxes of Bowman Chrome, if I want to sell them on Star Stock, I send them to Star Stock, and Star Stock confirms the authenticity, that they're not, tampered with or fake, or, they're legit. And then Star Stock sends them on to the, buyer. So this is how, similar to how this program will work. So you sell the $800 card on eBay, and it's sent to StockX is what he was talking about. So you send the card, the $800 card you sell on eBay, it goes to this third-party authenticator, which they've teamed up with CGC and CGC and CSG. There's too many C's in C's and S's in the grading world. So it's sent off to these authenticators, and they put basically an eBay branded like envelope. It's not in a slab, but it's basically, it gets like a hologram, I think, and it gets its little cheap cardboard little booklet that you'll take out and either send it off to grading yourself or just put it in your collection. Um, so the eBay, so I'm just going to read verbatim what eBay sent out. Your card is authenticated by third-party professional authenticators. Authentication is now available for ungraded cards, $750 plus, with the exception of patch and autographed cards. Now, I was reading somewhere that they were taking slabs, but this is straight off the eBay website. So ungraded cards, 750 and above, and that's the sell price. That's you don't have to like value. How does it value its? Well, if it sells for $751, it's going off to this authenticator first before your buyer. If it sells for $749, it goes straight to the buyer. No cost to you. eBay covers all the costs associated with the authentication process for a limited time. So that's going to be in the future. How, where's that fee going to lie? Is it going to be like a buyer's premium where there's going to be a certain percent tacked on to the sale to the buyer? Or is that going to be fixed into the fees on the selling side where there's an additional, kind of like you have your, if you have a store, it's 11.5% final value fee. If there's any promotions, that's X amount. And then is there going to be an additional, 1%, 2% authentication? There's going to be a fee passed on to somebody. I would assume it's going to be the seller that eats that fee, but maybe they put it on the buyer. Authenticity guarantee. We take fraud and counterfeits seriously. Have peace of mind in knowing that your cards are genuine. So I think this is a great program. Before I get into my thought, George says, I've had my purchase rejected before because it had evidence of tampering. So I got my money back and then bought from a different person. So George talking about StockX with his purchases. I think slabs as well as lower priced cards are in future plans. David says, whenever I've been lucky enough to get my hands on a desirable shoe at MSRP and sold on eBay, you have to send to an eBay authenticating center in NYC. Yeah, so this has been done. This is not new territory for eBay. They've done this in the sneaker world. I'm not sure if there's other commodities that they've done this with, but I do know, as David said, with shoes, those are authenticated before the buyer receives them. Or at the very least, they are speculated to be in the future, says George, about lowering that threshold, that $750 threshold. Jenny says, speaking of stores, I need to find a video on how to get the free shipping supplies quarterly. Yeah, I can send you that info. It's I say it's easy, but it's like it's kind of sometimes eBay is difficult to navigate behind the in the storefront. So my thoughts on this eBay authentication program, I like it. Now, will I use it? Probably not, because I don't buy $750 plus raw cards on eBay. However, I would consider it. A couple of cards that I have on my eventual Cubs target list fall into that price value. Cap Anson, 1800s cards, and some of them are raw. I'm not going. In fact, there's one up for sale right now, and it's it's more than I'm willing to pay at this moment, but it's certainly something that I would consider. But it's raw. It's kind of raw. So it had been graded in the past, and this is what brings me pause. So this is a perfect example of why I like this authentication program for this particular card. It's an 1887 Allen and Ginter Cap Anson. Now, it says it's an SGC1, but it's raw. It's not encapsulated. So that's what brings me pause. Now, there is, and it does have the check mark. So this is the authentication program's already already in progress or whatever. So basically the price tag is $2,700, which I don't think I've paid. Like $500 is probably the most I've paid for a card. So when I buy my Cap Anson eventually, it's going to blow out the water of a single card purchase. So authenticity guarantee. So this is within the listing for the Cap Anson that I've been eyeing. This item is verified by an authenticator before delivery. Free for a limited time. Final sale may apply. So when they use that verbiage within the listing, it makes me think in the future it might be a buyer's premium, because this is a buyer's program. Like this is to aid the buyer, not the seller. So, in my opinion, the buyer should pay for this authenticity program. When you send in cards for authentication, you pay the authentication. Um, and then, yes, you can make the argument, well, I don't care. It's a $750 card. I don't care if it's, I'm smart enough to know that it's authentic, and I don't want to pay that premium. But it is what it is. Find another one. So it's got that check mark. So my thought process, like, I it looks real to me, but I wouldn't know. And he's got a picture, so it's just a raw card. I don't know if you can see it. So that's the Cap Anson, and then there's the back, 1887 Allen and Ginter, and then it's got the picture. So that was, it was slabbed, and it's like, well, why was it taken out? Maybe the slab was broken, but still, I would rather have a broken slab. So let's read the description. 1887 Allen and Ginter baseball card, Hall of Famer Cap Anson, the best card in the set. It was in an SGC1 holder, but I busted it out because it did not fit into my raw set, but I kept the flip. Guaranteed to get back into a PSA or SGC1 holder if the buyer wants to resubmit. Card is creased with some resulting wear and has a small spot of paper loss on the back from scrapbook damage, but this card is in high demand right now. It looked better in the holder and better in person. Well, then why take it out of the stupid holder? All items are guaranteed authentic forever. The seller does have a pretty good feedback score. He has almost 11,000 feedback, 99.7%. So he does have, let's see. Yeah, so he, just a couple negatives, which I have like 6 negatives because of you know, buyers. So that's why something like that, where it's like, it's a rare card that doesn't come up. I only saw 2 of those. One was a higher grade than I was looking for. The other one was a 1, but it had awful paper loss on the back, and he wanted like 2,000 for it. I would have been a buyer at 1,500. He's like, the best I would go is 1,900. I'd probably not even, like, I don't even really want to sell it. So it was basically, I get it. Like, I have cards in my collection where it's like, no, this is my price. It's going to sell for this price, or I'm going to keep it in my collection. So I get it. So I struck out with the Cap Anson at the National. So let's see. So I'm going to go into the chat. George says, by the way, the Tinker Tops Magic is a cool card. Love cards like that. Yeah, I found that on Twitter. I forgot I bought it. It arrived yesterday in my mailbox, and it's like, who is this from? And then I open it up. It's like, oh, I bought this a couple weeks ago. It's been in transit since January 18th. So I guess that's only 8 days or a week, or maybe it was the 16th. But I forgot. It's like, oh, I'm glad it came because I forgot I bought this. It was on Twitter. Somebody pointed it out. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I kind of have a side PC of Joe Tinker going, and it's actually the first baseball card set Topps put out, 1948 Magic card. Topps Magic Photos is what they were called. David says, as a buyer, same card at $700 versus $775. The higher price one definitely more desirable for many under this program. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're also going to find for cards that aren't as common, where you get into like the pre-war and tobacco, where there's only 1 or 2 copies on eBay. I think if the price is in that $750 range, I think you're going to see sellers drop the price to $740 to avoid that middleman, and not out of scammer behavior, but just if they have to eat the fee, especially if they have to eat the fee, I'm going to avoid the fee and just drop the price by avoid this program. So I think you're going to see there's going to be a lot of gamesmanship that price range. Ed says, Jenny, you can find the subscriber discounts in the Seller Hub. Yep. Thank you, Ed. People are selling 98 David Ortiz cards as rookies. His rookie is 97 as David Arias. Yeah, and I think there's like a common misconception on David Ortiz. Like, I think like he had a longer career with the Twins than what many people realize. He was with the Twins for what, 4 seasons? I don't think he went to Boston until like 2001 or 2002. So there are a lot of David Arias / Ortiz rookie card or Twins cards that are not rookie cards. Jenny says you're only a real eBay seller if you're not at 100% feedback. LOL. I think that's true. It's all numbers. It's like, I see when people post, like Card Purchaser or somebody, Hobby Connector, show me your eBay score. And like so many people are proud of 100% feedback, but it's like perfect eBay score. And it's like 200 feedback. It's like, well, 200 feedback. Yeah. It's all in numbers, 20,000, and you're going to have some negatives on there. People don't know who Arias is. Thanks for the Bears bow, 15 behind. Ortiz started with Mariners, then Twins, then Red Sox. Does he have, I don't even know if he has any, does he have any Mariners minor league cards? I haven't even looked. And if on TCDB, is there a different, is David Arias and David Ortiz split up? Let's look up. Let's just type in David Arias. StreamYard would come in handy. I haven't gotten comfortable enough to do my hobby evolution on StreamYard yet. David Arias is listed as a player on TCDB. David Americo Ortiz Arias. So he has a 96. Oh, that's a cool card. 96 Midwest League All-Stars when he was he with the Timber Rattlers? Yeah, that's a cool card. It's a best. Okay, so the Timber Rattlers were a Mariners affiliate. I knew he played. I think that's where he met his wife. How cool is that? That's a cool story. Like, he met his wife when he was playing in low A baseball in the mid-90s. That's cool. He beat Junior Aroyd in a home run derby during that time period. TCDB, they can link different things, so they will put both names of a player and link them together. Yeah, so David Arias is separate, but when you go to the page, it's Ortiz. So you can search both David Arias and David Ortiz, and I think, let's see, does it show? And actually, in his cards where he's David Arias in trading card database. Rookie and the ultra. I probably, in Latin America, your mom's last name is used. He is Ortiz Arias. Fleer messed up. Interesting. I did not know that. Yeah, so his name on David Americo Ortiz Arias. Interesting. I did not know that was in Latin America. That's how cool. Learn something new every day. So those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. Thank you for watching. Great chat today. Today's Wednesday. It's freaking cold. It's actually dropped a degree. It's now 17 below zero, and I had stupid trash out. So I'm gonna get another cup of coffee in me before I go outside. Stay warm if you're in the Midwest. I know, Jenny, it's even colder where you are. Tomorrow, may have some, depending on what comes up today, who knows? I've got a couple topics in hand. I need to write them down. One of which is finding cards that are like a shock. Because one of my friends posted a card last night, and I'm like, posted a picture of the sale, and I'm like, what? Like, if I saw that in a quarter box, I'd probably turn it down. Actually, maybe a $1 box, I'd turn it down. And I'm like, what? And it was like a $250 card. So I was so amazed that I went to eBay, and there's like 3 of them on eBay, and they're all like several $100s. So I want to talk about that. And then more standard envelope, Triple Crown is Triple Crown is ending his envelope sales for his eBay store. I know Andrew, who's in this chat, has had so Andrew in this chat has had similar issues to what Jenny had. So and that's with the Origin facility. The Origin sorting facility is rejecting the standard envelope, saying they're non-machinable and sending them back to the post office. And I've been trying to find a solution for him, but it's and I had a pick like, and then it's like, okay, let me see the picture of what you're sending. And it's like, oh man, this sucks. Jenny says I will never end standard. Me neither. I have had issues, but I'm sending out 1,000 a week. So there's gonna be it's a numbers, just like negative feedback. If you do so many, there's gonna be a few slip through the crack, and you're gonna have some problems, some bad buyers, some bad postage delivery, and whatnot. So actually, I think I'm going to piggyback. So I will talk about that tomorrow because I saw, if you're familiar with Nextdoor, it's a neighborhood app. It's both cool and annoying at the same time. It's basically like social media for your neighborhood, and so it's kind of like Twitter, where you see people tweet and it's like, I hate that person, and you don't. I hate's a strong word. I really dislike that person based on what they tweet. That's similar to Nextdoor. It's like, I've never met this neighbor, but they post every day good crap on Next, and I already don't like them. There was a pot next door regarding a couple of the area post offices and the issues they're having with employees, lack of. So I want to touch on that. So I will talk about that before, as I'm like talking, because a lot of times when I turn off the microphone, I like go get coffee, go get my garbage out to the curb, and then I forget what I was going to talk about. So let's erase this. Oh, since I have it on my board already, my the purchase that I bought from Goodwill, I haven't set up a time to pick up yet, because it's so damn cold, and I've just had a lot. It's card show week, helping my wife post surgery, so there's just been a lot of stuff going on that my car is like filled with cards, standard envelope, post office. I'll probably push back the card values for a later show. Card values. Let's see, and that was my buddy Brian. So I want to touch on those later. Madison Card Show is this coming Saturday. Sellout show. I actually I have a waiting list. I've had a couple cancels. So I've been advertising 71 tables, 42 vendors. I think it's actually 71 tables, 44 vendors, because I've had a couple 3-table vendors bow out, but I've got a waiting list. So a couple of 1 and 2 table guys have stepped in. So 71 tables, I think 44 vendors is where I'm at. This Saturday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Puritan Hotel on John Nolan Drive, free admission. I'll have bargain boxes. I'll have my 25-cent boxes. They're 4 rows. They've been my 25-cent boxes. So you can get bulk discounts on those cards, or you can just buy the whole box for $100. So that's like basically, what's that come down? Probably what I'd say conservatively 2,000. Oh, doing it wrong. You'd think it by 40 years old you'd know how to do math better. It's about a nickel a card, and it will sell for a couple bucks on eBay. So great deal for the bulk buys. I'm bringing my slabs for $10 a pop. Basketball Prism rookies from the last couple of years. And great question, Jenny. And what else was there? Dollar boxes. I've been loading up my dollar boxes. I hear some beeping. I hope it's not the garbage man. It's only 8:30. Let's see. I may get 2 or 3 a week bad, but hey, 98 good outweighs the bad. Absolutely. Jenny says, how come you only go to 2? That's a great point. I used to go 9 to 3. So in 2022, I'm going to 2. It was part of the negotiation with the venue. They gave me great pricing last year. They basically COVID pricing, and they kept my price the same. They actually bumped it up just a little bit for like the room since they set everything up for me, it's like, yeah, I'll pay the extra for the help there, which basically goes to there's like one guy I think that does, two guys that do it all. So to keep that price, they're like, now, can you end it like an hour early? So in case we have like a night event, we have time to rearrange the room for an evening event. So, so I said, yeah, we'll be out by 3. So I'll end the show at 2. So that's why I only go till 2. It was part of the negotiation for the contract for the shows this year. So that's why it used to be 9 to 3. It was actually our first show was 9 to 4. But it like died at noon. And so like it was a pretty pathetic by 2:00, and we went till 4. 2:00, the room looked pretty pathetic. So we talked about it. Let's go to 3 next month. So 3's been good. And there's been some shows where it dies down. And by 3:00 we're tearing down, but there's been a few shows where at 3:00 there's still people making deals. And one show we were doing deals until 4:00. But that's why. So thanks for tuning in. I've got to go take the trash